Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in the video today. And today, the Houston Texans beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, no, I didn't say. Did I just say beat? I mean, crushed the Pittsburgh Steelers 30-6. What a win for the Houston Texans. I gotta admit, these Texans surprised me today. Going into this game, I wasn't thinking that the Texans weren't capable of a win, because I definitely thought the Texans were capable of a win. I actually predicted them to win last night when I did. Or this morning when I did my Texans bold predictions. I had the Texans winning 26-23. This Texans team shocked me. They shocked me, and I am hyped. It feels like the Texans are back. This is the first time we've won back-to-back games since December or late December of 2021. This is the first time we've had a record of 500 or more. The last time we had a record of 500 or greater was after week 2 of the 2021 season. Remember, the first couple weeks of the 2021 season, the Texans started off that season winning against the Jacksonville Jaguars 37-21. Tyrod Taylor, that week 1 performance, everybody was hyping up the Houston Texans after that week 1 performance by Tyrod Taylor. Then week 2, you see Tyrod Taylor and the Texans get off to a strong start against the Cleveland Browns, but Tyrod Taylor got hurt in the first half, and that's where the Davis Mills saga began, and that's where he made his NFL debut against the Browns. That right there is the last time the Texans had a record of 500 or greater. They started off the season 1-0 to start the 2021 season, and then the week 2 they were 1-1. So they were 1-0 and 1-1 in the 2021 regular season. That was the last time the Texans had a record of 500. So it's great to say the Texans have a record of 500, and they've also won back-to-back wins, and the hype is back for this team. CJ Stroud has another great game, 30 more passes, 0 interceptions. He's thrown, I believe, 151 passes in his first 4 games with 0 interceptions. Has thrown for over 1,200 passing yards and 6 passing touchdowns. This defense looked phenomenal today for the Houston Texans. The Texans had multiple sacks today, I think 3 or 4 sacks. Texans had 0 sacks in the previous 2 games compared to their 4 sacks in week 1. They had multiple takeaways on defense today. Almost had a touchdown on defense as well with Will Anderson Jr. Steven Nelson had an interception, his second of the season. This Texans defense was phenomenal, and we'll go over all that later when we get into the rest of the stats. But for now, we're going to go over the scoring summary for the Houston Texans in this ball game. Let's get into it. First quarter, you have 2 scores for the Texans, and it's a C.J. Stroud 2-yard touchdown pass to Nico, and it's 7-0. He had a monster day. I know week 2, he was great for the Texans, but this was the best career. This was the best game of his career by far. It's 7-0. Kaimi Fairbairn with a 36-yard field goal. It's 10-0, and that's in the first quarter. Second quarter, 2 field goals for Fairbairn going into halftime. 38-yard field goal, 39-yard field goal. It's 16-0. Third quarter, 2 scores to the Steelers. Kind of a theme here. First quarter, 2 scores for the Texans. Second quarter, 2 scores for the Texans. Third quarter, 2 scores for the Steelers. Fourth quarter, 2 scores for the Texans. So, in each quarter, the same team had two scores. And also another theme, most of the time it was the same score. 2 field goals, 2 touchdowns. But yeah, 2 field goals for Chris Boswell in the third quarter, 35 yards and 23 yards. This defense did a really good job of stopping the Steelers trying to get a touchdown. And when they were in decent territory, I mean, they were inside the 10-yard line when they knocked in the 23-yard field goal. They were driving pretty well against this Texans defense when they knocked in the 35-yard field goal. I thought this Texans defense did a very good job against the Steelers on those 2 drives right there. Fourth quarter, you have 2 touchdowns. Now, if I would have said Dalton Schultz got his first touchdown reception as a Texan, you would have thought it would have been thrown by C.J. Stroud. But how about backup running back Devin Singletary throwing a 6-yard touchdown pass to Dalton Schultz? It's 23-6. And C.J. Stroud throwing a 52-yard touchdown pass to Nico, and the final score is 30-6. Game leaders Kenny Pickett threw 15 for 23 with 114 pass yards and 1 interception. He gets hurt in this ballgame. Mitch Trubisky comes in. Stroud threw 16 for 30 with 306 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns. Najee Harris had 14 carries for 71 81 rushing yards. Damian Pierce had 24 carries for 81 rushing yards. Their leader in receiving yards for the Steelers was Najee Harris with 1 reception for 32 receiving yards. Of course, for the Texans was Nico Collins, who had 7 receptions for 170 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns for the Texans today. Other rushing, Singletary was pretty good for the Texans with 7 carries for 25 rushing yards. Stroud also ran for 16, and Tank Dell ran for 13. He actually kind of struggled today for the Texans, though. Dalton Schultz finally doing something big for this Texans team. 3 receptions for 42 receiving yards and 1 receiving touchdown. Damian Pierce had 1 reception for 27 receiving yards. Robert Woods had 3 receptions for 26 receiving yards. John Mitchell had 1 reception for 22 receiving yards. Tank Dell had 1 reception for 16 receiving yards, and Singletary also had 11 receiving yards. Fumbles for the Texans. Texans did fumble a couple times in this game. Nico Collins did fumble, or he recovered a fumble. That was a fumbled by Tank Dell. Tank Dell fumbled on a punt and recovered his own fumble. Then there was a fumble by Mike Boone, running back, and it was recovered by Nico Collins, who does everything for this Houston Texans team. All right, defense. Leader in tackles was Christian Harris with 13 tackles. He was a beast for this Texans defense. Texans had 3 sacks for 7 tackles for loss. How about what a day for Jonathan Grenard? 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. Other tackles for loss, Dylan Horton. I really liked what I saw from him today. He had a tackle for loss for the Texans. Henry To'oTo'o had a tackle for loss. Graylin Arnold had a tackle for loss. And Jerry Hughes had a tackle for loss, which was a sack. So sacks. 2 sacks for Jonathan Grenard and 1 sack for Jerry Hughes. A great day for this Texans defense. And then interceptions, Steven Nelson with an interception, which he returned for 33 yards. But yeah, To'oTo'o, the rookie, had 7 tackles. Harris had 13. Arland had 6. Grenard had 5 with 2 sacks and 3 tackles for loss. Ward had 4. Jalen Petrie was back and had 2 tackles. He looked really good out there today. Jerry Hughes had 3 tackles as well, and Sheldon Rankins had 4 tackles. So this was a really good day for the Texans defense. Kick returns, Devin Singletary had 1 kick return for 35 yards, and Tank Dell had 2 punt returns for 14 yards. So yeah, that was it for the game today. The Texans crushed the Steelers 30-6. The Texans improved to 2-2. The Steelers fall to 2-2, and the Texans are at a record of 500 for the first time since 2021. That's for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed them. Your thoughts, and peace out. Go Texans.